Good morning, fifth grade. This is Miss J, and happy Friday. Today is Friday, May 8th. And before we get into reading for today, you'll need a few things to make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you have this reading YouTube video up. You also have your Google form for your stop and jots and exit ticket. And you should also have Bud Not Buddy open in a separate tab as well. Once you have all those things open, then you're ready to start the lesson. For today's lesson, we're going to be reading chapter 7. We will be looking specifically at interactions between Bud and other characters in order to learn more about Bud's thoughts and feelings. Before we get into chapter 7 today, let's recap chapter 6. How was Bud able to eat since he ran away from the Amoses? He went to the mission to eat. Bud almost didn't get in because he overslept. But then a man and his wife acted as though they were his parents in order to help Bud out. So in chapter 7, we're going to begin reading the first page and a half together. That will be page 30, and then we're going to stop on page 31 after the paragraph ending with somebody's dried up slobber. Then we're going to get into the first stop and jot. That's going to be explaining the details of the new setting and why Bud goes into strong details of the smell in comparison to the air anywhere else within the new setting. Chapter 7. I pushed the heavy door and walked into the library. The air in the library isn't like the air anywhere else. First, it's always cooler than the air outside. It feels like you're walking into a cellar on a hot July day, even if you have to walk up a bunch of stairs to get into it. The next thing about the air in the library is that no other place smells anything like it. If you close your eyes and try to pick out what it is that you're sniffing, you're only going to get confused because all the smells have blended together and turned themselves into a different one. As soon as I got into the library, I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I got a whiff of the leather on all the old books. A smell that got real strong if you picked one of them up and stuck your nose real close to it when you turned the pages. Then there was the smell of the cloth that covered the brand new books, the books that made a splitting sound when you opened them. Then I could sniff the paper, that soft, powdery, drowsy smell that comes off the pages in little puffs when you're reading something or looking at some pictures, a kind of hypnotizing smell. I think it's that smell that makes so many folks fall asleep in the library. You'll see someone turn a page, and you can imagine a puff of page powder coming up really slow and easy until it starts piling on the person's eyelashes, weighing their eyes down so much that they stay down a little longer for each blink, and finally making them so heavy that they just don't come back up at all. Then their mouths come open and their heads start bouncing up and down like they're bobbing in a big tub of water for apples. And before you know it, whoop, zoop, sloop, you're out cold and their face dunks down smack dab on the book. That's the part that gets the librarians the maddest. They get real upset if folks start drooling in the books and page powder or not. That's the part that gets the librarians the maddest. They get real upset if folks start drooling in the books, and, page powder or not, they don't want to hear no excuses. You gotta get out. Drooling in the books is even worse than laughing out loud in the library. And even though it might seem kind of mean, you can't really blame the librarians for tossing drooly folks out, because there's nothing worse than opening a book and having the pages all stuck together from somebody's dried up slobber. So we're going to pause here. I want you to head over to your reading stop and jot and exit ticket and answer the first stop and jot question. Once you've done that, come back to the video. Your first stop and jot question is asking you to describe the new setting and explain why the air is unlike anywhere else. Welcome back. So you should have answered your first stop and jot question, describe the new setting, and explain why the air is unlike anywhere else. So Bud is currently in the library he previously tried to get into the night before. As he walks around looking for Miss Hill, he is describing his surroundings. The air inside is unlike the air anywhere else because of the different smells. The leather books, the book covers, and the pages. A hypnotizing smell. Now we're going to read the rest of this page into the next. I opened my eyes to start looking for Miss Hill. She wasn't at the lending desk, so I left my suitcase with the white lady there. I knew it would be safe. I walked between the stacks to see if Miss Hill was putting books up. 3 doggone times I walked through the library, upstairs and down, and couldn't find her. I went back up to the librarian at the lending desk. I waited until she looked up at me. She smiled and said, "Yes? Would you like to retrieve your suitcase?" She reached under the desk. I said, "Not yet, ma'am. Could I ask you a question?" She said, "Of course, young man. How may I help you?" "I'm looking for Miss Hill." The librarian looked surprised. "Miss Hill? My goodness, hadn't you heard?" "Uh-oh, that's number 16 of Bud Caldwell's Rules of and Things for Having a Funner Life and Making a Better Liar Out of Yourself. That's one of the worst ones. Rules and Things number 16. If a grown-up ever starts a sentence by saying, 'Haven't you heard?' Get ready, because what's about to come out of their mouth is going to drop you head first into a boiling tragedy." It seems like the answer to "haven't you heard" always has something to do with someone kicking the bucket, and not kicking the bucket in a calm, peaceful way like a heart attack at home in bed either. It usually is some kind of dying that will make your eyes buck out of your head when you hear about it. It's usually the kind of thing that will run you out of a room with your hands over your ears and your mouth wide open. Something like hearing that your grandmother got her whole body pulled through the wringer on a washing machine, or something like hearing about a horse slipping on the ice and landing on some kid you went to school with. I answered, "No, ma'am," and got my stomach ready to hear about Miss Hill biting the dust in some way that was going to give me nightmares. According to Bud, what does the phrase "haven't you heard" usually mean? What does he mean by kicking the bucket? He thinks that this line is connected to someone dying and always related to bad news. But Bud proceeds to say, "Got my stomach ready to hear about Miss Hill biting the dust in some way that was going to give me nightmares, as in dying. Your job right now is to complete the rest of this chapter independently and stop right before chapter 8. Once you've completed the chapter, then you're going to get into your final stop and jot. What does Bud's interaction with the new librarian reveal about him? The author includes many purposeful conversations in order for the reader to get to know Bud a little bit more. So it was our job today to closely read what was revealed throughout Bud's interactions with the new librarian and track his feelings throughout it. You should think of what he likes, dislikes, and what he became interested in from the conversation. Also, how he feels about certain information and statements as you're reading. Also, today's secret code for reading is dolphin. DOLPHIN. Again, today's secret code is dolphin. DOLPHIN. Go ahead and get into your reading now. Welcome back. So now you should have completed the rest of chapter 7 and answered your second stop and jot. Now you're going to complete your exit ticket questions. If you have any questions about the reading, make sure that you're reaching out to your teachers and asking for conferences if needed. Again, happy Friday, everyone, and we hope to see you all at movie night today at 5 p.m.